This is the Body Wise Podcast. Thank you for joining Laura and Christina for another intimate exploration of collective wisdom.
Hi, everyone. It's Christina. Thank you so much for joining us on the Body Wise Podcast. Once again, today I will be interviewing someone that I'm just thrilled to announce. Listen to me. I'm like, nervous. So Laura won't be here today, but I will be joined by the incomparable Mark Sisson. I am so excited to have him on the show. I've looked up to Mark for a very long time. He is the founder of Primal Kitchen, author of Primal Blueprint, the new Primal Blueprint, the Keto Diet Reset, Primal Endurance, and more recently, Keto for Life. He started the blog, which is essentially like Google for anything primal and paleo, with Mark's Daily Apple. Mark was an endurance athlete, so it's really rad. He was an Ironman finalist. He served 15 years on the chairman of International Triathlon Union. He's always just kind of been really active, but he's someone who, even being an elite athlete, kind of realized that his health wasn't optimal. While he was off season, he was often getting sick or injured. And so that's when he kind of pivoted and found the primal ancestral template. And he's absolutely thriving. I feel like he does not age, and we will ask him about that. He's just phenomenal. Always has this amazingly balanced approach to wellness and fitness. And I love his work. I love his no nonsense approach. I love everything he does is rooted in enjoying and getting the best, like enjoying life and getting the most out of it. Mark wrote the foreword for my first book, Made Whole. So I just adore him, and I really appreciated him when I was just kind of a little baby blogger. And I asked him, and before my book came out, and it was just the most beautiful foreword ever. So if you have my book, you can read it. It's in Made Whole. And I'm just really appreciative of everything he does. And today I want to have a conversation with him that's a little bit outside of the norm of what we normally ask. I think people often ask him about nutrition or keto. So we might touch upon that, but I have some interesting questions. So before we get Mark on here, I want to give a quick shout out to our amazing sponsors. Thank you to Jasper Hemp. I love Jasper Organics and all their hemp products. As you guys know, I use their roll-on, their CBD roll-on Daybreak every day, especially on my right arm, where sometimes I can get a little bit of chronic pain there from training and just, I think, using my phone and my computer mouse too much. As well as their full spectrum hemp oil, which I really love. I find it more effective than just CBD oil, and I use it sublingually before bed, and I sleep like a baby. And you can get 15% off of Jasper Organics products with code KITCHEN, all caps. And all this will be in the show notes. Another big shout out to Medley Veggies. I love Medley. Their soups are, veggie drinks essentially, and many of them are Whole30 compliant. They're not juiced. They are, using the whole vegetable. So you get all the fiber, all the goodness in there, no added sugars, no gluten, no dairy, wonderful flavors, a lot of added collagen. I always keep them in my fridge for quick on-the-go meals. Links to those as well. And you can save 15% on with Medley with code CASTAWAY. And so all about healthy lifestyle stuff out here on Body Wise. And on that note, without further ado, Mark Sisson, guys. Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Hey, Christina. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited that you're here. As you know, I really look up to you. I love, love, love your work. And now that you live in Miami, I love you even more.
It's pretty fabulous here. And moved from Malibu, and people say, well, gosh, Malibu, isn't that the greatest place to live and hang out and play and do all the things you do? And I used to think that until I came to Miami Beach. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I love it. I miss it. We will be in South Florida this weekend. I'm going for a wedding, and I'm really looking forward to it. But I love that you love it. So that, it's a special place. And the water is warm, right? Isn't that a major bonus? Because I lived in San Diego, and the Pacific Ocean is very cold.
No, it's a huge bonus. I would say the water's at least 20 degrees warmer on any given day here in Miami Beach, South Beach, than it is in San Diego.
Right.
I'm looking out my window right now, and it's an epic surf day. Surf is 9 feet high.
Wow.
And there are 150 surfers in the water right in front of my house. The air temperature is the coldest it's been since I've lived here. It was 49 this morning. But the water is warm. The water's still, high 70s.
Right.
So people are digging it.
That's amazing. So because I feel like there's some benefits to being in the cold ocean, right? Like, kind of like a cold plunge, right? But the Pacific kind of gives you that. So do you go out of your way to do like cold plunges now in South Florida?
Every single day. I happen to be very fortunate to live in a building that has a pretty elaborate spa. So we have a jacuzzi, a steam room, and the cold plunge is about 40. And so most nights Carrie and I, my wife and I, it's not a co-ed spa, so we have to go separate places to do it. But we'll both, kind of go our separate ways. And I do a 3 minutes jacuzzi, 10 to 12 minutes sauna, and then 7 or 8 minutes in the cold plunge, and then finish off with a little jacuzzi to warm up. And it's fantastic. I really love that new part of my routine. I mean, I did that in Malibu for the longest time. I kept my pool in Malibu unheated, and so I was able to do that most of the time in Malibu. But here it's like a very specific temperature that they keep the cold plunge at. So long-winded answer to your question. I'm still a huge fan.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's great for inflammation. I can't get myself into an ice bath. I'm Cuban. Come on. But when I lived in Hawaii, I really enjoyed the ocean, although it was cold, and I felt there was definitely some benefits to inflammation, right? With the cold.
But it has to be cold, Christine. It can't be like Hawaii water cold.
I don't know. I'll work my way up. I know the Standard Hotel has a cold plunge, so maybe next time I'm there, I will take it.
I've been in that plunge many times. Yes, indeed.
It's a nice one. Awesome. So tell me something. What's something that you're like really curious about right now? Anything new that you're researching, or anything that's kind of piqued your interest?
Well, it's just the right place to reveal it. But I've been really looking at the concept of climate change recently, and I'm skeptical that what they call anthropogenic warming is significant at all. I think that I'm as a fan of the history of Earth and the history of species and the cyclical nature of geology and climate. I'm really kind of doing a deep dive into that. Partly just because of the heavy politics in it, but also because I got so involved with this new movie, Sacred Cow.
Yes, Diana Rogers.
Yes, and Rob Wolf, and looking at ways in which we can, really save the planet and save the topsoil with regenerative farming, like literally with the oldest possible technology you could imagine.
Right.
Being quite literally the only technology that's in a position to restore topsoil, grow plants and animals, and eat plants and animals. So that's what sort of started me on this whole thing. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'm doing a huge, research project into that right now.
That's awesome. I love that topic. I heard there was a really fantastic panel at Paleo Effects, not last year, but the year before. And the Savory Institute was there, and Diana Rogers led it, and Rob Wolf was on it. And that's when I heard about that in the Midwest, there's like 60 years of crops left. And that's it. And we've ruined this topsoil that the bison had left us. And yeah, I agree that the answer is not in a lab. So I'm really excited to see what you do with that. For those listening, you can go to Diana Rogers, to her page, and donate to help this documentary get up and running. What was that? What was the vegan one that did so well? Not Game Changers. What the Health? Forks Over Knives. I mean, there have been a bunch. You're right. What the Health has done well too. But they're very well funded. People donate. They crowdfunded like millions of dollars overnight. I think the omnivores, we need to get our shit together and put our money where our mouth is. Awesome. Yeah. So what's your favorite thing to order at a restaurant?
Oh, it's always been like lamb.
Lamb?
Like a rack of lamb is probably my favorite single thing to order. Yeah.
There's a really good Greek restaurant on South Beach. I forget where it is. Something like, I can't say it's really
Santorini. I just had lunch there. I came back.
So good.
I was there 15 minutes ago.
Oh my gosh. They have the octopus.
I go there once a week. Yeah, I go there once a week. Yeah.
The octopus that they do like really shaved, and they serve it with like this dill kind of cream thing and red onions. Kill me. It's so good. Amazing. So what's your favorite thing to cook at home?
Probably just a nice, steak, a nice thick steak.
Okay.
I'm not a big sauce. Sure. I mean, I have a lot of sauces at Primal Kitchen. That was one of the reasons I started the company, was because I didn't like making sauces at home. And I don't like, it's so funny because I don't like to eat. So the reason I have so many cookbooks is I like to have, to show people what to fix me.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah. So that's the reason for that. But I'm really good with a steak, and I used to do some great sort of rotisserie chicken preparations and rubs and things like that.
Nice.
But beyond that, my palate is very simple. My diet is very simple.
Right.
It's meat, fish, chicken, eggs, nuts, seeds, vegetables that are usually either steamed or raw, like in the form of either a salad or steamed broccoli or something like that. So there's not a lot of prep, and then I just put a lot of butter on them and go to town.
That's awesome. That sounds perfect. Keep it simple. That's how I think that's kind of the key of making it a lifestyle, right? If it's always complicated, who's going to stick with that?
No, 100%. In fact, one of my next book coming out, I have one that just came out.
Keto for Life.
Keto for Life. But the next book is just going to be like the absolute most simplistic, like, okay, here's five meals you can fix in 5 minutes. And if you eat those 80% of the time while you're on this program, you'll be happy and satisfied and thrilled. And I like to make it simple for people. One of the things that's happened over the years is that the keto and the low carb, the paleo, the primal, the keto lifestyles appealed mostly to people who like to cook.
Right.
I think. And so if you don't like to cook, you're like kind of SOL. But not anymore. So anyway, that's where I'm headed.
That's fantastic. Where do you think? I think sometimes the convenience factor, right? Because I love that idea of giving people super easy recipes. I was a restaurant chef, right? So when I came into this lifestyle, for sure, I was like all up in the kitchen. But I myself, as a recipe developer, have had to simplify because my followers were like, "Hey, Christina, 12 ingredient lists aren't cool,"
Yeah.
But how do you kind of justify, like, okay, keep it simple in the kitchen. However, overall, there has to be changes made. Like, where is that balance of like, some things should be easy, but hey, overhauling your health isn't going to be a walk in the park?
Well, I mean, you shouldn't have to, if you don't want to cook and
Right.
eat well, that should be an option for you. And that's sort of where I went with that. If you like to cook, great. Now you've come to the right place. But if you don't like to cook, but you still like to eat great tasting, healthy food, one of the things we did with Primal Kitchen is we said, okay, if you can just grill a steak, then I'm going to give you the most amazing steak sauce you've ever tasted. If you can just throw together some vegetables in a salad, I'm going to give you 14 different choices of salad dressing, all of which taste different, all of which provide a different taste sensation every single day, and each of which is going to make your salad healthier than if you didn't use the dressing on it.
Right.
So in that regard, we're making it very simple. We are introducing in the second quarter of this year, a line of frozen skillets and bowls from Primal Kitchen. So this will be like ready to cook, ready to just heat it up and eat it, full-on meals.
That's amazing.
And we are very excited about that. And again, it just follows my own muse, which was I want to eat well. I want every bite of food I ever put in my mouth to taste great.
Right.
Like, that's my number one criteria.
Right.
I want it to be healthy, and I want it to be easy. So this is what we're trying to do with Primal Kitchen, is to make it as easy as possible. Certainly making the sauces and dressings was phase one, and that's kind of the ideal thing for people who want to make their own steak or make their own chicken and throw some barbecue sauce on it, or make a salad, or now we have pasta sauces.
Yes, the Alfredo is so good.
Right. So if you do like a zucchini pasta with the Alfredo one, or a zucchini pasta with a marinara, you're getting a high quality, great tasting meal that's good for you. Right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I just used the new dressing, the olive oil, the oil and vinegar dressing last night on my salad. It was phenomenal. And I love the mayo. People are like, oh, you can make I'm like, I absolutely know how to make homemade mayo, but I will tell you, I buy Primal Kitchen mayo because why make it when I can buy it? It's so good.
For sure. I mean, that was product number one for us was the mayo, and it was almost just a fluke that of all the ones I wanted to do, salad dressings, pasta sauces, steak sauces, ketchup, mustard, we did a year of R&D on all of them. And it just turned out that the first one that we could really make to commercial scale was the mayonnaise. Well, as it so happened, the mayonnaise was the holy grail of condiments, because people in the paleo and the primal and the low carb world, many of them had given up on egg salad, tuna salad, chicken salad, because they couldn't find a mayonnaise that wasn't horrible.
Right.
The
Whole 30 people.
Yeah, or they just didn't want to make a salad, a mayonnaise on their own. There's a 50% chance that it was going to fail. Right. And of the ones that took, there was a 50% chance it was going to kill you if you left it in your refrigerator for 5 days. So we sort of came to the rescue on that one.
huge rescue. I mean, I think now the people like who first doing like first Whole30s right now, I'm like, you don't even know. I'm like, we had it hard 5 years ago.
Yeah. Right. When we were kids doing Whole30.
Exactly. We had to make our own
mayo. You think you have it bad. Right.
We had to milk our own nuts. It was the worst. Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right. So you are a prolific writer. Obviously, look at you with another book about to come out. What's your process for writing? I mean, do you kind of start with the research, or is it very like instinctual, intuition? You just get like light bulb ideas. Tell me a little bit about your process.
Well, the process started out with me years ago just wanting to write my manifesto.
Right.
So I had these ideas that I felt that I talked about with other people. I discussed, I had researched, I had formulated in my mind a clear picture of how I thought humans were best equipped to move through this world with ease and grace and not get sick and be strong and lean. And that formed the backbone of all my thinking. That was the primal blueprints. It was this,
right.
Very heavily based in evolution, based in genetic science. And that was the impetus for almost everything else I wrote after that, which was just a further refining of that initial process, which is we are the result of millions of years of evolution. We ought not to disregard that in the face of new technology, but we ought to embrace the fact that our genes expect us to do certain things. And so my challenge over the years has been to find these hidden genetic switches that we all have and to make it known to everybody that there are ways you can turn these genes on or off based on your lifestyle behaviors. Now, for the most part, early on, it was diet, but then clearly sleep became a big part of that, and sun exposure and play and stress management and lifting heavy things and doing aerobic activity. And all these things have an effect on gene expression. So that sort of set the stage for almost everything I've done. It's all based on, I would say, absolutely based on the science of the times. Right. But also kind of based on an intuitive desire to kind of show people that it ain't that hard to live a good, satisfying, healthy life. And, it's not, I'm not looking for shortcuts. I mean, I am, but I like this whole hacking movement kind of bothers me because, people are looking for like, how do I get the benefits without doing any work?
Right.
And I'm a little bit, more than a little bit skeptical of that. But so my process over the years went from me doing all the research and writing to me hiring researchers to do background so I could get right to the meat of stuff. And then to me having a team of writers. So now I have 6 people who I work with who we're always working on an article, or, Brad Kearns is my co-author on my books and has been from the beginning. So, whenever we're hanging out, whenever we're chilling and we're, grabbing a beer or going for a cold plunge or just sitting around, we're talking about what's the next thing that I want to kind of put out there in the world that's going to make people's lives better.
Yeah.
I'm going to share one of my writing processes for books that I've given to many other authors. And I haven't heard many people talk about this, but it's sort of my main through line for every book I've written is first, before I think I have enough for a book, I have to come up with 50 ideas, 50 concepts, 50 statements, 50 things that I'm going to say, typically it's just one sentence, that people are going to go, oh my God, I never thought of that. Or I had no idea that that's the way it was. Or, so these are eyebrow raising statements. And in the initial book, they could have been aha moments. Things like, saturated fat is not proximate cause of heart disease. Things like, aerobic exercise is not a good way to lose weight. Mm-hmm. These are things that are almost counterintuitive, but they're things that if you understand how they work, and I clearly have to spend sometimes pages and sometimes chapters to explain each of these things. But at the end of it, you go, oh, well, A, I never thought of it that way. B, this changes everything. I feel like I've been, in the case of exercise, I've been way over exercising, trying to lose weight, and I've been actually sabotaging my efforts. So that's the process. And until I have at least typically 50 of these kind of aha moments, these eyebrow raisers, these unique, and even it might even be just restating something that somebody else has said, but in a way that's more understandable. That's the point at which I say, all right, we got enough for a book. Let's start putting it all together.
That's awesome. I love it. I think you have a wonderful way of putting information in, I don't know, like it's, you do it so it's like, you don't sound crazy and like you don't make people crazy. I think that a lot of people, especially when the keto boom, you had a lot of people who were thriving on paleo, right? On a paleo lifestyle, but then you have had a lot of vilification of, some of the starchier vegetables, and some people went just, I don't know. I had one of my coaching clients yesterday, and she was saying how she's like, I just love Mark Sisson, Primal Blueprint. It just makes sense. And I'm like, doesn't it though? It's so good.
That's good. That's good.
It's true. Cause like you said, you don't have to, overtrain, and it's about making the information making the light bulbs go off and putting it in a way that it is about life being enjoyable. It's not about over restriction or being miserable, because if you're not happy, what's the point?
What's the point? Exactly. I mean, that's you can sit there with, with just ripped as can be and 6-pack abs and being able to do wall balls till the cows come home, but be miserable. What's the point of that? Like
Right.
You got to be, happy and content and satisfied and wake up every morning with a purpose. Like, why do people get out of bed in the morning?
Right.
That's really what kind of drives me, is this concept of I want my life to be one of fulfillment. But what does that look like? And for a lot of people, if they're ill, if they're sick, then they're not going to be that fulfilled, because their mind is distracted with their pain or their suffering or whatever it is. So you absolutely have to kind of fix that part first. I don't want people to be in a disease state or be overweight or have energy lapses because they haven't gotten their diet right.
Right.
But once you do that, there's so many other factors that make for an awesome life. I mean, that's I came up with this tagline, "Live Awesome," about 10 years ago, and that's kind of been the main reason we do what we do is not to be ripped again, and not to be to win the marathon or to go out and exceed and be the best butt on Instagram.
Yeah, but that's a thing now, right?
It's a thing now. But to just to enjoy your life and be authentic in the enjoyment of it, and not represent that you enjoy your life on Instagram and then find out that you're miserable beneath it all.
Right. Thoroughly do it. Yeah. Outside of diet. So of course we know this. I mean, I think my listeners, a lot of people know this. And if you don't read our books, read Mark's books, get your health, in check, change your diet. But outside of diet, what are some of those important things for happiness, for fulfillment that people are missing today?
Well, I think just human connection is the one that almost bothers me the most. I walk into restaurants or I walk into a room full of people and everybody's on their device, staring down and checking their email or checking their Instagram or posting something to take. Look, I'm in Miami Beach, and I walk up the beach every once in a while at low. I love walking up at low tide when the sand is kind of hard packed and getting my vitamin D. And everybody's posing for a selfie. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. Here, I'm in Miami Beach and I'm at the beach and I'm taking a selfie. That's great, but is that giving you the fulfillment? And look, I do. I'm on Instagram and I do the occasional shirtless selfie. So I'm not going to decry that as much as perhaps I should. But I do think that we're lacking the human connection that we so many of us crave. And so that's like one of the big things is what fulfills you. If you have family, it's maybe easier to fulfill that, especially if you have kids. If you have kids, and I do, now I have a grandchild. Yes. I mean, I feel like my vessel is overflowing with love. If you're a 20-something or a 30-something, and you don't have in a relationship, or you don't have a circle of a few close friends, but you consider the 7,000 Facebook followers or whatever Instagram followers your friends, then there's an issue. Then it's going to be a little bit more difficult to find that connection and to be able to have other people's, at the end of the day, what I want to, what I'd like on my tombstone is, that I had an impact on other people's lives.
Right.
I built a business just for the sake of building, wrote some books, but that I actually had an impact on people's lives, that the information and their lives improved because I was on this path.
Absolutely. Well, I think you've accomplished that, but I think you're so right. I think that people nowadays, and I know because I work online as well, that I am 100% more fulfilled when I go to a book signing or just to a conference like Paleo Effects, or even just to the gym and like meet up with some friends than, being online, right? It's we are clan people. We need to physical touch, hug our friends, have those in-person exchanges to be, you can't get, what is it? Like, you can't get the human touch right online. It's not the same. It's kind of like when kids are learning to talk. They're not going to learn to talk from watching videos. They have to, their parents.
Oh yeah. No, it's you absolutely can't get that human touch online. It's almost the opposite. It's a complete the wrong proxy in every way, shape. I think one of the good things about the WeWork concept, it's failed in a lot of other by a lot of other metrics, but getting people together and having social gatherings and having a common room with a sofa that people can sit around and share ideas.
Yes.
I think is a good thing.
Absolutely. I love that. I feel the call to, take it brick and mortar eventually in some way, because I know my cup is fuller when I interact with people in person and not just, through the screen from my home. So that's phenomenal. Okay. So what do you think? We talk a lot about instinct, right? And I think in your work talking about the primal blueprint, which I have a question actually. So I was listening to an interview you did with Brad, and you were talking about your outward bound experience and kind of the living in Sarasota and like in the jungle of your backyard. Did that kind of impact your return to like the primal? Were you like reliving or thinking of like how happy you were as a child in your like Tarzan days?
Oh yeah, I never stopped being Tarzan.
Yeah.
I mean, there was never a time in my life when I didn't think in terms of that sort of a call of the wild,
Yes.
calling me back to the jungle thing. And I remember, I forget how long ago that interview was, but yeah, growing up in Sarasota on Bee Ridge Road back when it was like, it butted right up against, 100 straight linear miles of Everglades and big giant snakes and alligators and all kinds of giant turtles in our backyard all the time. And I was swinging through the bushes and climbing the trees. And it was like one of the best times of my life.
That's amazing. Yeah. I think that more people need that. I think even like today, our children and, I mean, you're like, I think about my son who's 6 and how, I don't know if kids play like that anymore, or people in general, like they don't really get, unless you're living somewhere like Miami or Hawaii or a lot of places in like Malibu in California. But think about the cities. Like, what kind of tips do you have for the people who live, I guess, in places that they don't have access to the beach or maybe mountains, how they can connect with nature? Because I think that's such a big part of our overall health.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's a drawback of living in a city. So if you can get access to a park, if you're in Manhattan and you've got Central Park is there, and it's a pretty spectacular place to go. And San Francisco has Golden Gate Park, and there are areas of Los Angeles that are available that you can get out in nature. Absolutely find a way to do that. In the absence of that, I guess just being outside is going to have to suffice. And that's, I think, why so many New Yorkers, for instance, regardless of the weather, they like to walk. They don't mind walking outside. They like to walk outside, experience living in Manhattan. But I just couldn't imagine being cooped up in a city, in a building all the time.
It's hard in the winter. I mean, I've always lived in tropical climates, and now I'm in Northern Virginia and it's like 20 degrees outside. And I really struggle. Thank goodness for my little schnauzer Bruce, because if it wasn't for him, I might not go outside. But I have to walk him, and I take it as an opportunity. I know people who live in the like up north, like Mike Mutzel talks about this a lot. Like they walk their kids to school 20 minutes each way, rain, snow, sleet, doesn't matter. And I admire that. I admire that.
Yeah, no, not only do they walk, but they get a chance to chat. They get to talk for 20 minutes each way.
Right. How amazing. Little things like that people can really do. And I think going back to that connection, that time with our children, I think it's so important because, time is just so structured, and kids have longer school days and extracurricular activities, and then they're doing their homework. There's less, family time.
My kids today, and they're 29 and 26, and, they've grown up in a very kind of privileged environment, growing up in Malibu and being well taken care of and never having to want for anything. And yet they will each tell you that their favorite memories of growing up was the time we spent boogie boarding when they were 6, or learning how to snowboard together, all of us, or playing, my son Kyle and I started playing Frisbee when we were 10, and he became one of the best ultimate players in Southern California.
Amazing.
But it was a time that I and my wife spent with them,
right,
driving to soccer practice, hanging out at soccer practice, going to games. And that's the first piece of advice I give entrepreneurs is don't sacrifice your family for your business. This notion that entrepreneurs have to work 80, 90 hours a week or else it's not valuable. It's bull. I went to pretty much every one of my kids' soccer games while I was growing up a big company. And it wasn't big at the time. It was a small company. It needed my attention. But then there was a point of diminishing returns. And I needed the connection of my kids, my family, my wife, and my friends, as much as I needed to be productive in the context of building a business. These things all kind of, they mesh together to make a total person. And the more of these varied experiences you can have, whether it's being productive in business, being successful in business, being hardworking, but also having connection with friends or family, and those connections. That's the definer of a rich life, of a wealthy person. If you go to every country in the world, people who have no money will say, my wealth is my family and my kids.
Right.
And it's true. That is their primary connection with this earth.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. I think sometimes I wouldn't give up this business that I built that I can work from home and be here for my son, and on the weekends and we go mountain biking together. It's our thing. We ride about a lot of bikes, and yeah, I agree. I think when he looks back, he's going to remember those times as his favorite. And I think that, going back to how we said earlier, you can give up all this stuff and you get really ripped, but if you're miserable because it's in this unsustainable way, what's the point? And same thing with your business. If you're giving up your relationships for your business, then you're going to be successful and lonely and you're still going to be miserable.
Yep.
So yeah, that's
exactly.
really, really good advice. Speaking of more advice, what is something that you failed at, and what did you learn from that experience?
Well, I've had a lot of failures. I mean, I started a TV show in 2005 before I started Mark's Daily Apple.
Okay.
It was called Responsible Health, and it was I shot 52 half-hour episodes of a half-hour talk show. I was on every morning, Monday through Friday at 8:30 in the morning on Travel Channel.
Wow.
$7,000 per half hour. I paid to have that time, and I was trying to make it as what we call a self-liquidating show. I was the advertiser. I was my only advertiser on the show, and I lost $1 million, a little over $1 million doing that. And that was at a time when I had no money. I had enough to lose $1 million, but I couldn't. It wasn't like I could.
It hurt, right? It lost $1 million, but it hurt.
Yeah. So that's when I started Mark's Daily Apple. I knew I had some information that I wanted to disseminate on health, but I wasn't, I just hadn't found the right vehicle yet. And so that's when I started blogging, 2006. And then in the last couple of years, I lost a lot of money on the restaurant business, on the Primal Kitchen restaurants, that we thought we were going to be crushing it, but the business model did not work. And that was a bitter pill and a bitter lesson. But, I would have, I guess, part of me says I would rather never have done that. And it was painful to get out. It took me 2 years to get out of it. And many, a lot of money lost. On the other hand, as I said about the TV show, I would rather have done it and felt like I gave it my best shot and lost than to be sitting, in a room at 85 years old going, God damn, I wish I'd tried that. Right. I wish it was a great idea. I wanted to do it, but I didn't have the the gumption or the balls or the heart or whatever it is to try it. So, I think we always learn from our mistakes. You really don't learn. It's kind of cliche, but you don't really learn that much from successes.
You don't, right?
Yeah. So I've learned a lot over the years from my mistakes, and I've had other businesses that have failed as well. So, but as I tell young entrepreneurs, you only need one or two. Really only need one home run to make everything you've ever done worthwhile.
So true, and you have to keep trying until you hit it.
Keep trying. Yeah. And even then, even a triple is a good. Hitting a triple once in a while is just it's worth doing, and it makes all of the prior efforts and risks that you took worthwhile.
Yeah. And so One last question before we let you go, because I know we know you're super busy, even though you're like quote unquote retired, but not really. So with this entrepreneurial business, with like all these risks you've taken, and you're so passionate about sharing your story, like what's your best advice for someone like, who feels like they have all this to share, but they feel like they don't have it together? Like, are you a like, will calculate it and plan forever before you, or are you a, hit the ground running, just, act before you think kind of person? What's your like?
Well, I'm definitely not act before you think. I mean, okay. The first thing I would say is, you might be passionate about your idea, but make sure it's a good idea. Make sure that other people could be passionate about your idea. Make sure that it's a good business plan, that it does have an opportunity to succeed. I was in my 20s when I was a runner. I was really kind of upset that I would go through running shoes so quickly. Don't get me wrong, but I would only get 800 miles on a pair of running shoes. And I was running over 100 miles a week in those days. So, a pair of running shoes might only last me 6 weeks. And it took a while to break them in. And so I invented this running shoe repair kit, right? And it was some special glue preparation and a little cleat that you put on the back of your shoe and whatever. It was a kit. It sold for like $6.95, and I advertised it in Runner's World. And but at the end of the day, I thought, well, this is I found something that I need, that I think everybody else needs, but on its best day, it's not going to be $1 million business.
Hey, how many people are running that much?
Yeah. How many people are running that much? And of those, how many people feel compelled to want to repair their shoes rather than buy a new pair, et cetera, et cetera. So even though it was an interesting idea, it was never going to have any traction, at all. And so I abandoned it once I did the analysis. So make sure that your business idea is a good one, and then pursue it. But again, don't pursue it at the expense of putting your family at risk financially. Don't go into debt, or at least don't go into personal debt. If you want to, raise money and from friends and family and use other people's money, that's fine.
Don't give up your sleep.
Yeah, don't give up your sleep. Exactly, because that's the easy way to give up your sleep, is to owe other people money.
Right.
But I will say that a lot of people on the internet right now are, grind, work. And, if you're not working 18 hours a day, you're not going to be successful. I'm like, well, that's horrible advice.
That's horrible advice. The hustle. Yeah.
The hustle thing. Exactly.
I know.
And I'm like, no, just work smart, be passionate, have a purpose, get up every morning and know what you're going to do, but live your life at the same time. Right. I mean, so many people I know, like, I put off 10 years of my life, 10 years of living to grow my business, and then it failed. Well, if maybe it failed because you sacrificed everything else in your life, but even if it failed, if you kept your family and everything about you, you'd be a much happier person.
Right.
Ideally, you'd have both. Ideally, you'd be able to have the balance and have your business succeed and have your family and loved ones surrounding you and your connections and all of your friends waving you on, supporting you, and cheering for you.
Absolutely, because the goal is to live awesome. And
yes.
And yeah, you can't do that if you're just, I agree. I think, like, again, you've always had this wonderfully balanced approach. And I love that you said that, because you're right. And because of the internet and we're in this age of comparison, people see other people's success and they think, oh, well, they're always doing things and they're always traveling and they're always talking and they're always on this. And I can only be, and sometimes I'm sitting here like, I don't know, man. Like, right. That can't be the only way. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today, Mark.
My pleasure.
And everyone, please go to your store, right? Primal Kitchen is available anywhere now, which is amazing. I think Target, Whole Foods, Safeway, everywhere. Mark's Daily Apple, Primal Kitchen, Primal Blueprint, and to check out the books. When does the Easy Recipe book come out?
It should be on the heels. Should be in a couple of. That one that we talked about. Yes. No, so we have a Keto for Life recipe.
Just
book.
Came out.
The easy one. That's still a year away.
Okay. Yeah. Teaser. Okay.
Teaser, exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Mark.
You were asking about my process, Christina. So
that's true. That's my fault. My bad. Well, thank you again.
Okay. My pleasure.
And stay warm in Miami, which I can't believe I'm saying that.
I know. It's already going to be 76 again tomorrow. So
okay.
I'll survive.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
Bye. That was amazing. We have some awesome guests lined up going forward. I'll be recording with Dr. Will Cole, Kendra Holly, and many more coming soon. I wanted to remind you all that my next book is launching in just a few days. March 10th, Made Whole, Made Simple will be hitting shelves near you, bookstores. It's already on pre-order on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, IndieBound. And if you pick up a copy, that would be amazing. This book is all about learning how to listen to your body and your signs. And it's not about a diet, but how to become the leading expert in you. I'm extremely proud of this book, and it has a ton of research in it and over 140 mouthwatering, allergen-friendly, real food recipes. And I really think it's a wonderful tool for anyone who wants to get healthier and kind of understand what's happening in their body. So Made Whole, Made Simple, March 10th, and I will be on book tour. More of that information on my blog. We will add the link to the show notes as well. I hope you get the book. I hope you love it. And I really hope to see you on tour. Thanks, guys. Until next time.